Welcome to the Sports Machine. We are back.
Back and better than ever, baby.
As you know, I'm Brian Franklin. That's Dwayne Dean.
Yes, sir.
Feels good to be back.
Yes, sir. It don't not only feel good to be back, it feels good to be back talking sports.
Oh, yes.
Awesome show lined up between NFL, college football, the World Series first pitch.
Oh, you know the NBA starting up.
Man,
You know, I gotta talk about that.
most definitely. And the cool thing about it is, in the fall time, that's when you have a combination of a little bit of everything going on. You got the NFL's in mid-season form. Like I said before, you got the World Series kicking off. Then you have the NBA tipping off. Hockey's just about to start going underway. And let's not forget about MLS playoffs and our own FC Dallas.
FC Dallas.
Holding it down.
It's between them and the Cowboys right now. Who are
Man.
the better teams? Because the Stars are kind of. It's early.
Right.
It's early in the hockey season.
Right. And another thing is, one thing I noticed about, like, I don't follow, like, you're the soccer expert on the show. Like, you follow
I'm
soccer.
not sure if I'm an expert. I follow it more than
More than the average.
Most.
Right. At least you
American
follow it
people.
more than me, though. And so I lean on you when it comes to soccer. But when I heard about them, having home field throughout the playoffs, being the number one seed, I was like, wow, okay. And I instantly thought back to the Rangers. I was like, oh, man. Is it good? Is it bad?
See, I don't want to start up that. I don't want to start off the show on a negative note because, as you know, me and Dean, we studio out of Dallas. And we got some.
Right.
We hold it down for the city.
Right.
They're not all Dallas teams are my favorite teams, but I always like to root for them.
Right. Of course.
When is it enough to say enough when the playoffs is no longer enough for the Rangers?
It's not,
I mean,
as of right now, they're starting to become the Buffalo Bills.
At least the Bills made the Super Bowl.
Right. But as of right now, they're becoming the Buffalo Bills of baseball. And I think I saw an ESPN stat where when you talk about the teams that's Major League Baseball teams that's been around so long and haven't won a World Series title, of course, the Cubs has won. In second place, it's the Indians. And right there at number 3, our very own Texas Rangers.
Not surprised.
And I think they're 57 seasons. So basically, their whole time that they've been in the Metroplex, since they've been the Texas Rangers, they've never won the World Series.
It's sad, but that wasn't really on the agenda.
Right.
But I had to vent a little bit. This is not a Dallas-oriented show. We speak about everything.
Most
Of
definitely.
course, Dallas gets some love. We do shout them out.
Most definitely.
Also, at the end of the show, we got it. The Really Though segment, you're not going to want to miss it.
Most definitely.
Mine is really, it's towards the NBA, a certain NBA fans.
Yep.
Certain NBA fans is going to get it. Starting off, it's the football season, so they take over the media.
Oh, yeah.
So they take over us too.
Especially on the Monday.
So we have to talk about it. Let's start off with the AFC this round.
Yes, sir.
The Chiefs took out the Saints, 27-21. Spencer Ware looks like he has taken over where Jamal Charles has fallen off a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Not sure if Jamal Charles is going to be able to come back
Right.
next week.
Right.
They say his status is uncertain, even though it looks like a lot of what I've heard is that he's kind of healthy, but they don't really feel the need for him. Do you think that they should, when he gets back, should he start? I mean, it's Jamal Charles.
Right. And that's one thing I have to remember is at this moment in time, it's about the team. It's about what's best for the team. And right now, I think they're sitting pretty good.
Yeah, they're 4-2.
And so if you're sitting right now 4-2, you got to ask yourself, if you're a playoff team, when do you want Jamal Charles to be at his best? And that's in the playoffs. And so I say, my opinion to that is real simple. we continue to feed Spencer Ware, and then we give Jamal Charles half the carries. Maybe 10 to 12 carries a game. Maybe run him out on a few routes, because not everybody comes back from ACL injuries like Adrian Peterson and a couple other players, or any other athlete that's come back from ACL injuries, like Russell Westbrook.
Yes, very true. Next up, Colts. Titans gonna be the next game I talk about. The Colts beat the Titans. Was it the 11th straight time, I believe?
Yes.
Yeah, I think they was on 10, so now it's 11.
Only good thing about that game for me, B, was the fact that DeMarco Murray got back to averaging over 20 fantasy football points for me on DraftKings. So, thank you, DeMarco. Thank you.
Colts won 34-26 against the Titans. Both 3-4 in that putrid division. I dislike that division greatly.
It's funny because a lot of experts was looking at that game and looking at that division and saying, hey, it was a division on the come up. Not so sure now.
Mm-hmm. So is Osweiler.
Oh, man.
Shout out to T.Y. Hilton. I think he's a really good player. Andrew Luck is taking a step back. He's doing what Matt Ryan did.
Right. And it's not all his fault.
It's not.
Because
his O-line's not very good.
You stole it right. You stole the words right out of my mouth. And that's what I was exactly what I was finna go to, was the fact that they spend so much money on other parts of the team, receivers, running backs, some on defense, but they don't invest in anything to protect their $100 million quarterback.
They're the exact opposite of the Patriots.
Exactly.
Where the Patriots spend all their money on the line trying to get their defense right, but don't get any weapons for Brady, really, besides Gronkowski and now Martellus Bennett.
They get system guys.
Yes. But you can kind of live like that when you have Brady, because a quarterback's going to make wide receivers.
Right.
If you're a great quarterback, you're going to make some type of wide receivers as long as you have one key weapon.
I agree with that.
Next up in the AFC, the Bengals got 31 points against the Browns, who only had 17. So the Bengals got the victory, got to 3-4, and the Browns is 0-7.
Exactly.
Got 6 quarterbacks this year.
And at first, I kind of was on them about not taking the time out to pick Carson Wentz at the time, early on in the season, before Philly had before Philly had wound up having their bye week, and Carson Wentz, it looked like he was just going to shred the whole league up. I had to sit back and take a step back and ask myself, what was more important? Should they have grabbed that quarterback and then turn around and got him hurt and set him back? Or did they do the right thing by trading that pick away, get multiple picks to help them out later on in next year's draft and other drafts to come? And I still think they've done the right thing, in my opinion. I think
they did the right thing, because if you ask me, despite Carson Wentz coming on hot,
right,
Dak Prescott doing what he's doing, it was a quarterbackless draft. The quarterbacks were low.
Right.
The fact that we were talking about maybe a quarterback won't go number one, then, Goff.
Right.
Goff happened, who's not playing currently. We'll probably get into that next segment when we talk about the NFC.
Most definitely.
Next up, the Raiders beat the Jaguars 33-16. The Raiders 5-2. Everyone knew they were on the come up. 4-0 on the road.
And you know what's crazy about that, B? They're the worst defense in the league. Worst.
Tell the Jaguars that.
Thank you. Because Blake Bortles, Allen Robinson, they didn't get the memo that you could shred this team.
Marquise Lee did.
Yeah.
He wanted to let somebody know about it. Racial slur.
And I had no idea about Marquise Lee going to all of a sudden show up. Otherwise, I would have had him on my fantasy draft team. But, if Ips was Phipps, we'd all be drunk, correct?
Oh, yes. Bills, Dolphins. The Dolphins got the victory 28-25. That boy went off for 200 yards again, back-to-back. First time since Ricky Williams.
Man, and I slept on him. And
Jay Ajayi, by the way, if you did not know.
And the thing is I didn't expect him to do that against a Rex Ryan defense.
Yeah, Rob Ryan, too. Both the Ryan brothers got it.
Because at the time, their defense was in the top 10 in rush defense. Like, I wouldn't call them a stifling defense, but they was up there, and that's why I wouldn't pick him on my team. That's why I didn't pick him on my fantasy draft team, because I was like, there's no way that they're going to allow him to do that to them, knowing that he's their main weapon right now. And sure enough, he showed up and showed out.
Speaking of Rex Ryan, the Jets won against the Ravens, 24-16. Not very, most of the drama going off the field. Geno Smith tore his ACL.
Right.
And Ryan Fitzpatrick, after the game, talking about everybody doesn't believe in him anymore, from the GM to the coach. He's the only one that believes in himself.
Right. And
I mean, I feel him because it's true. At the same time, I'm not sure if that's really the time or the place to say it.
Yeah,
but maybe it was the time and the place because he knows they have no choice but to let him throw the ball because they ain't having anybody else.
See, my problem with that is simple. You haven't given him a reason to believe in you. When you have more interceptions than you have touchdowns. They paid you at least. They didn't pay you exactly what you felt like you was worth, but they paid you. They paid you a pretty substantial amount of money. Very you haven't even looked anywhere. You look like the quarterback that cost them a spot to get in the playoffs last year. That's what you've continued to look like.
I don't think he played that bad last year. This year has been troubling. Last year, to me, he was an average quarterback. That's what he is. He's an average quarterback, and there was no good quarterbacks available, so they had no choice but to pay him.
Right, but his Jekyll and Hyde, he showed more Jekyll than Hyde last season until the end of the season, the last two games where Hyde took over, and it was just like, who is this guy? This is not the guy who has helped Brandon Marshall restart his career looking like, a top 10, a top 5, top 10 receiver. He didn't look like that those last two games, and quite frankly, he hasn't looked like it this season.
It's not. Next up, the Chargers beat the Falcons 33-30 in overtime. I'm going to wait to get on the Falcons into the next segment, the NFC side. But for the Chargers, they're in a tough division, so 3-4 doesn't sound good.
Right.
But to me, they're one of the surprising teams because they have played well despite the fact they haven't been winning all their games. Phillip Rivers.
It's crazy because when you look at the way that they've lost games this year, they've lost games on an average, I want to say, the past few times they've lost games, I think they've lost by under 7 points.
See,
that's how they've lost nothing but close games.
They lost by 3 to the Raiders, lost by 1 to the Saints, lost by 4 to the Colts, and at the very beginning of the season they lost by 6 to the Chiefs.
So about at that time they lost about 12, let's say 12 points. About 12. Anyway, like I said before, that's a team that easily could be in the mix right now, but like I said, for a series of unfortunate events when it happens to a team, but it's good to see that they've seemed to righten the ship, you know what I mean?
Patriots took down the Steelers. The Steelers didn't have Ben Roethlisberger, not much of a surprise.
Right.
Tom Brady looked like Tom Brady. LeGarrette Blount went off for 127 yards with 2 touchdowns on the ground. Shout out to Malcolm Butler for following Antonio Brown around. Even though Antonio Brown got over 100 yards, he limited him.
Right. And one of the things I took away from that game was, they actually got the defense got the Tom Brady, but I guess the problem with the Steelers defense is not it's the secondary.
I mean,
it's their lapses and judgment is secondary.
They were dropping people back, and
right.
The only problem was they would send Edelman across the middle,
right?
And a linebacker would pick them up because they're playing zone.
Right.
I assume if a linebacker picking up Edelman, it was a man-to-man.
Right.
So a linebacker gets pulled up on Edelman, but the Edelman just run right by him underneath on like a cross around. He just dump it off to Edelman. He'll just get a first down, dink and dunk down the field. Last game, Monday night's game, Broncos 27, Texans 9. I guess the Broncos got revenge on Brock Osweiler, but if anything, y'all should thank Brock Osweiler for leaving if you've seen him play.
Well, yeah, he's every bit of
I mean, they're leading that division, but that's just because of that division.
He's an oak tree that seems to get all his passes batted down. We've discussed this before the show. I think this guy, in some way, shape, form, or fashion, needs to find Warren Moon or Rich Gannon and develop a punt fake, because that would help him out a whole lot, especially being as tall as he is. And it's easy for defensive back safeties to actually see him and see where he's looking and see where he's trying to throw the ball to, and they can actually make a break on it. But in my opinion, he could use that to his advantage with the punt fake.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
create more passing lanes for him as well.
He needs to get on the same page with a lot of his wide receivers as well. You saw a lot of miscommunication in today's game, last night's game.
Right. I agree with you on that one.
Coming up right now, mixing it up a little bit. Going to the NFC side of the NFL.
Yes, sir.
I guess we'll start with the Thursday night game. The Packers beat the Bears 26-10. The Bears 1-6. They look terrible. I'm on Team Tank. I'm a Chicago Bears fan, by the way. Team Tank. Let's go ahead and get Watson. Yeah, Watson. Let's go ahead. Packers look good, but to me, if doing anything in Chicago is not impressive.
Right. And once again, for me, everybody's kind of been on Aaron Rodgers and his accuracy, but I think that a lot of teams have found a way to get to Aaron Rodgers a lot more than they have. And not to mention, I haven't seen Aaron Rodgers escape out the pocket as much as usually when the pressure gets there, Aaron Rodgers is a deceptive running. He's a deceptive running quarterback in ways where he's not going to beat you with flat out speed, or he's not going to beat you with, the Michael Vick moves that turn around and get you a 40, 50, 60-yard run from a quarterback, but he gets you yardage when you need him. It's on those 2nd down and 8s where he turn around and potentially get 6 yards or even get the first down that just takes the air. It's like a gut punch.
Yes.
It just completely takes the air out the defense. And now a defense that's been on the field all game long, or that's been on the field for a very long drive, you can expose that defense. Why? Because those guys are grabbing their knees. They're tired. Defensive linemen is not getting that same pass rush that they used to because they're winded. They're tired.
Shout out to Devontae Adams. 13 receptions, 132 receiving yards with 2 touchdowns. Just put in work.
Yeah. Should have had him on my fantasy team. So, but whatever. Making a lot of bad picks this week. I'm a rebound, though.
Giants in London. Early, beat the Rams 17-10. A lot of people on Case Keenum for throwing 4 interceptions. That's very debatable on whose fault it was, the receivers or him. But a lot of people screaming for Goff. Didn't watch Goff in college, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to get into it.
For me, because I already know.
Golf is a gift basket.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, he likes to give it away. He gives it away. Like the song. Like the, who's that? The Red Hot Chili Pepper song. Go, give it away, give it away, give it away now.
By the way, Case Keenum did not get my gift basket of the week. It's still coming up.
Yep.
I got somebody else in mind.
I was happy because I had the Giants defense, and they got me 18 points. So
Giants look. The whole NFC East looks good. The Giants look good.
Right.
It'll be very interesting to see who wins the division. Next up,
you remember once upon a time? My bad. Before we go on, you remember once upon a time they was calling it for the beginning of this season they was calling it the NFC least.
Probably last year.
Yeah.
Things change fast in the NFL.
Right.
The Saints lost to the Chiefs, as mentioned before, 21-27. They're 2-4 now. Mm-hmm. Drew Brees looks good, but the Saints always had the same problems.
Right.
Can't stop anybody.
Horrible defense and
at some point,
offense that's powered by a future Hall of Fame quarterback.
I understand that Sean Payton's an offensive guy, but at some point you got to come to him. He is the head coach,
and say, "Hey, man."
At some point, you might have to get somebody that knows what they're doing.
Exactly. Your offense can't be your defense for forever.
Eagles 21, Vikings 10. Vikings did not look like the 5-0 team. They looked terrible.
Yeah.
Sam Bradford had a lot of pressure on him all day.
He actually looked like he was it's almost if Ghost was coming out the field on him by playing on that field from when he was playing with Chip Kelly. Because he did not look anywhere near like it. He didn't look nothing like Sam Bradford before the offseason, before the break. And you say the same thing about Carson Wentz.
Because Carson Wentz didn't look good in this game either.
The first quarter had 5 turnovers in the first quarter. They were just giving it like it was a turnover fire sale. We don't want it, you want it. No, we don't want it, you want it. Well, okay.
Next up, Lions 20, Redskins 17. Lions win the game. Both teams 4-3. The Redskins in the, as we mentioned, NFC East that looks very well with all their teams being over 500.
Mm-hmm.
The Lions look good in this game. Matthew Stafford looked good.
One key note though was with Josh Norman going down.
Yeah.
With the concussion, and if those of you who's been paying attention to anybody who's had a concussion this season, they have not come back to play the very next game. And so this is a huge game for them coming up this week. Without their big money cornerback who's proven that he's worth the money, in my opinion.
He's proven it.
And you can see, and it's evident by looking at a defense that was pretty stifling last year in the Panthers defense that just looks horrible without him. Can't stop run, can't stop pass.
I mean, it's easy.
They're suspect. I'm sorry.
When you don't have to double team somebody, when you don't have to put somebody over the top, it makes it easier on your defense. You can throw the extra person in the box to stop the run, as you mentioned,
right?
Or you can help shut down other wide receivers, which might have been why the Lions won the game.
Right.
Anquan Bolden, maybe he doesn't get that game-winning touchdown if they could put somebody else over there to help.
Exactly.
Next up, Buccaneers beat the 49ers 34-17. Jameis Winston. To me, Jameis Winston has looked good since his rookie year. His team isn't necessarily the best.
He's been sketchy. Like, I can't lie. Like, I'm not for or against Jameis Winston.
I just don't think people remember what they were like before he got there. I mean, they're 3-3 this year.
Right. And it's crazy because when you look at some of the games that they've lost, when they've lost games, they've lost them in the worst way possible. And so, when Jameis Winston has had a bad game, he's had a horrible, horrible game. And it makes you wonder. It almost makes you take a step back and like, man, is this really the first round pick here? But once again, like I said before, they're 3-3 in the division, and anything's possible for them.
The Falcons lost to the Chargers in overtime.
That game.
And not get basket of the week.
Here comes Santa Claus.
Dan Quinn, head coach. To the Falcons.
Oh, Dan Quinn.
Yeah, he went for it on 4th and 1 in overtime. So on their own side of the field. That's all I can say about that. You basically gave the Chargers the game. That's a gift.
Yeah, and it sucks for the Chargers because you don't as a player. I'm pretty sure they don't want to hear this team gave y'all that win because you feel like you
what
earned
the Chargers
it,
did to come back was very impressive because they were
most
down.
Definitely they done their part in making sure they put themselves in a position to at least win the game. But how about that field goal that he missed? What was that, 58-yarder?
That was so close.
Oh, man. And it's crazy because he still had enough way to go.
Like, so he had enough leg. It was just
right.
It looked like if the ball would have been flipping the other way,
it'd have been good.
It would have been good.
He probably could have hit it from 60. Like, that's how much leg he still had in it. That's how much leg he still had in that kick.
Lastly, the Sunday night game between the Seahawks and the Cardinals. Tie 6-6. Nobody won. Nobody lost. It's a tie.
Horrible. And it's not the game wasn't horrible. The tie is horrible. And I'm completely against the tie because it could go either way. It can work for or against you, but for the few times I've seen a tie, it's worked well for certain the teams that have tied before. And to me, that's like, I know the NFL doesn't want to extend the overtime
They should
rules
just
and stuff like that.
change overtime altogether.
Exactly. The way I see it is, if it has to go into a second overtime, in my opinion, then give both teams the ball at the 30, or make it a 2-point conversion type style of game. Give it to them on the 5. If you convert the 2-point conversion, then all right, then another team gets it. If they don't convert their 2 conversions, then y'all win. Simple as that. You ain't got to make them drive the whole doggone field like they've been doing. I've wondered about that, even with the new adjustment to it. Why not follow college rules?
It should. To me, the only difference y'all should do is just 2-point conversion every single time.
Exactly.
No extra point period.
Exactly.
That's all for the NFL. As y'all know, Saturdays, college football. College football's been probably more entertaining than the NFL this year.
Yeah. That first week of college football was so awesome, though. Like, every game was so fire. It was like, it's like they say, you throw a rock at a hit dog and he'll holler. You throw a rock at any one of them games and it was a damn good game. But then like you said before, I agree with you. With the season itself has been a pretty good season. Hasn't been as many blowouts. There's been some blowouts, but then there's been a lot of great comebacks.
I just think there's been a lot of top 10 matchups that I'm not used to seeing. Like at the beginning of the season, you had Wisconsin, LSU.
Which was a good game.
Very good game. This past week, top 10 matchup, Alabama, as everybody knows, ranked number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Went against Texas A&M, and Alabama handled Texas A&M.
They did. And
it's not as bad as I've seen them handle them, but they handled them.
And to Texas A&M credit, man, that team, that defense that Alabama have, man, that's a world-class defense. It wasn't a whole lot Knight could even do. I think a lot of people was expecting him to pull a Johnny Manziel, just trying to take over the game, but they didn't give him the opportunity to do so. And then let's look at it from Alabama's side real quick. When you talk about the quarterback position, they've never had a dynamic quarterback like they have right now.
They've never had a quarterback that I actually thought, wow, that's a good quarterback. No offense to A.J. McCarron.
Right.
He's good.
Same thing with, who was that, McElroy.
Yeah.
When you go back and look at their quarterbacks of just since Saban's been there, they've never had a dynamic, even, who was that last year? What's his name? Coker. Same thing with him. They've never really had.
They do the job.
Right. I guess they're what you would call glorified bus drivers. They're bus drivers. They may not cost you the game, but they might cost you the game if you force the quarterback to make the plays. But with this kid they have now, oh man, dual threat. Dude can sling it. Kid can sling it. Coming out of what's that? I almost want to say he's coming out of Wichita Falls, but I think that's your boy at Ohio State right now, coming out of Wichita Falls. But he has Texas ties, and the kid can sling the ball. Can sling it, man. All right. This team is gonna be hard to deal with in the playoffs.
Stay in the SEC. I'm gonna jump down to the LSU Ole Miss game. LSU won against Ole Miss 38-21. Leonard Fournette is back. I'm surprised he came back from the injury, knowing that he's going to the NFL.
Right.
But he came back, 284 yards with 3 touchdowns. Chad Kelly didn't look as good as I've seen him look.
Right.
But with Leonard Fournette, LSU's team totally changes. But maybe it's because there's no pressure on LSU anymore.
No, it's not.
Because everybody knows they're not going to go to the playoff. There's no expectation, really. Expectation off. Play a little bit more freely.
Do you think that, getting rid of Les Miles, and then the interim coach getting rid of the offensive coordinator. Good move, bad move, because this is the kickoff of the show, and we haven't had the opportunity to actually discuss it. But
I don't agree with Les Miles being fired because I don't think people understand. I'm a Michigan fan.
Right.
We didn't just get Harbaugh right after we fired the last coach.
You went through a couple of coaches.
That's what I'm saying. We went through a few. Rich Rodriguez.
Right.
Brady Hogan.
Right. Guys who just couldn't cut the mustard.
We could not.
Good college coaches, but
good at the schools they were at.
Right.
Maybe even good at future schools.
Right.
But not built for that kind of program. You find Les Miles who's built for that kind of program. Maybe he's not putting up the results you wanted the past few years. But it's not like you're going 500. I mean, Auburn goes 500 every other year.
Yeah.
They don't fire their coach every other year.
Right. And I think it just goes to the college football's win now or else mentality, which is just, it's preposterous in my opinion. It really is.
Because, you have a revolving door with players.
Right.
It's not the NFL where you can just re-sign. These players graduate.
Right. And which is one of my things I've always felt about with a lot of people just who's so quick to want to pull the trigger on Texas head coach Charlie Strong. And everybody keeps bringing up it's a bit off a topic, but everybody keeps bringing up the whole, he's had 2 or 3 top 10 recruiting classes. And I'm sitting back saying to them, that should be enough to at least keep him there. The fact that he could continue to get players to commit to the program, even though they're not anywhere near college football playoff potential. A lot of the guys that he has now that are starting to play was redshirt a couple of years. They couldn't play. And so therefore, they're true freshmen. They're freshmen now. They're sophomores that's actually getting a chance to actually play. But at the end of the day, we always have to ask ourselves, right? How much benefit is experience? It's a lot, right? And so a lot of guys he has playing now it's really key for them to get this experience, which will lead over into next season if they keep him. Because he's finally able to get his players in and finally able to have them play.
I think the only problem with Charlie Strong is the fact that their offense is playing well, and Charlie Strong is a defensive coach, and the defense is just terrible.
Yeah, but then again, you go back and look at the
offenses he's going against are top of the line offense.
Right.
The Oklahoma beat Texas Tech, by the way, 66-59. Look at the Big 12.
Exactly. Like in the Big 12, you have to be able to put up points. You can say the same thing about Art Briles. Art Briles was a defensive coach too. But one thing he had to realize real quick was, hey, if I can't get defensive guys here, I need to get guys who can put up points. Same thing at TCU with head coach over there. He's a defensive guy.
They lost 10-34 to West Virginia, who stayed undefeated.
And they're sneaky good.
West Virginia
is sneaky good.
Might be sneaking up in the Big 12.
Telling you right now. Baylor has to look out for that team because they're sneaky good. Like, I've noticed that. I was like, this team is, they're that team that lies in the weeds and just kind of sits back and let everybody else battle each other out and comes out of nowhere, takes out a team that's been battered and bruised.
In the SEC, Auburn did blow out Arkansas 56-3. The top 25 matchup. Thought I would mention it, even though it did not look like a top 25 matchup.
Right.
Houston goes down again, 38-16. This time to SMU.
And I'm down. I ride with SMU, but that was I know. And the crazy thing about it is, I was sitting back thinking to myself, I was like, golly, dang. The one time SMU had to come out and look like world beaters was against a team that still had a slim chance at potentially getting into the playoff or at least getting into the New Year's Six. Now Houston has no chance. Unless they beat Louisville, they might get into the New Year's Six. But right now, the light at the end of the tunnel is fading pretty fast for that team.
Speaking of Louisville, they blew out NC State 54-13. Washington also blew out Oregon State 41-17. And Michigan rolled Illinois 41-8. Last game I want to talk about, Penn State, Ohio State. Penn State stuns Ohio State
Right.
24-21. Shocker. I watched the game while it was happening. They looked equal to me while I was watching the game.
Right.
They seemed like they were on equal ground. They didn't seem like Ohio State was supposed to win. Penn State played just as good. It was a great game to watch. Outscored Ohio State 17-0 in the fourth quarter.
You know, I don't know a whole lot about Penn State's head coach, but
He's good.
he's pretty solid.
Yes.
Okay.
Like, he got the job. You know, he was one of the smaller school coaches that was consistently competing, and then came up to Penn State after O'Brien left, for Houston.
Right. But one thing I took away from what I saw at that game was, a program that's had a pretty ugly cloud over them since the whole, debacle that happened with the Jerry Sandusky and with Joe Paterno and that whole deal. It was good to see that their fan base was still at that game strong with the whole whiteout thing, because Penn State is one of those college football teams that you like to see in the mix or in the hunt of things, because they have a fan bases that travels well, just like Michigan, just like Texas, just like Oklahoma and Ohio State, Florida State, and a lot of those schools that, those historic type schools that travel well. And I just like the whole atmosphere of the game. I like defensive struggles like it was. I like low scoring games, when no one can seem to get into a rhythm, but all it takes is one play, whether it's a block field goal, a block punt, to kind of shift the momentum in another team's direction. It was a very entertaining game.
I still think Ohio State very much in the mix.
Most definitely.
If they beat Michigan, they're right there back in the college playoff to me.
Most definitely.
We'll definitely have to talk about that later in the week. Maybe if it comes down to it, who's better, Louisville, Ohio State? Who would you rather see? Story for another day, but it's another season out there. Football's not the only sport. Staying on the sports machine, mixing it up a little bit. Baseball World Series.
Yes, sir.
Two teams that have not seen it in a very long time, especially winning.
Yeah.
Between the Cubs and the Cleveland Indians. The Cubs very much expected to be in the World Series when the playoffs started. A lot of people had the Indians out of it due to injuries in the pitching staff.
Right.
The Indians have looked good, like really good.
Right.
The whole playoffs against Toronto, they handled Toronto.
And they made it look easy. And it's crazy because when I look at that series, I wonder if Toronto saved so much they pent up anger for the Rangers with the whole, punch out in May thing with Batista and Odor. I wonder if they saved so much of that energy for that series to where they came back and had nothing else. Like they just didn't have anything else for the Indians because they felt like they done what they wanted to do.
I feel like the Indians were the better team to me. And what happened was the Blue Jays were a team that were on a hot streak. They came in hot into the playoffs. They won the wild card game, so they stayed hot. Right away, they went right into Texas, swept right away, got right back into
Dominated the starting pitchers for the Rangers.
But because they swept the Rangers, that momentum died. They had to wait. They had to sit there and wait. Then they played Cleveland after their momentum died. And when it was on an equal playing field, when they didn't have momentum on their side.
They say momentum is a fickle thing.
I just think the Indians were a better team.
I don't deny that. I'm not even debating you on that one because I feel the same way as a Rangers fan. I was happy to see them. I was hoping that they got swept.
I was so happy that the Rangers got the Blue Jays.
Right.
I was hoping for some revenge.
Exactly. And that's what sucked for me because it was like I had to get all the yoke off my face off of being one of those people who's talk trash. Like, yeah, we don't want the Orioles, we want Toronto, and then Toronto comes in here and just manhandled them. I mean, it was almost not even a word for it. and the Rangers bats didn't come alive. But what I like about this Cleveland Indians team, and which is why I'm going to go ahead and state it right now, why I'm picking them to win. Like, they're my pick right now. Mark me down for it.
How many games?
I think this goes 7.
Okay.
I think this
sense.
actually goes 7. But the reason why I still pick Cleveland is because this team has a chip. I like a team with a chip on their shoulder. I do. And I think that everybody's talked, like, the Cubs have become like the darlings.
Well,
that everybody, like, we really want to see them win.
See, this is what the sad thing is. I'm going to pick the Cubs because I'm objective. I look at it, I'm like, the Cubs are going to win. I feel like they're a better team. I like the way it's all set up.
Mm-hmm.
I like the fact that they got challenged a little bit by the Dodgers at the end.
Right.
So I'm going to pick the Cubs. But at the same time, it really does get on my nerves. The Cubs have waited so long.
Right. What's that, 104 years? The curse of the GOAT.
Okay. Oh, don't bring a GOAT to the game.
And the thing
See,
is,
that's my question. If you have the Indians winning, right? Do you foresee somebody choking to make it seem like the curse is still alive? Like, let's say, like, in Game 7, the Cubs are up 3 going into the 9th, and then Aroldis Chapman goes out there and just...
A part of me kind of wonders if MLB should want the Cubs to win, because the Cubs have a young team right now. They can keep this team together. They may be there again next year. But
I think it'd be better if they lose and they're back next year.
Who, the Cubs?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
For baseball.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think it'll be better for the Cubs, for MLB, if the Cubs lose, due to the fact that you have the same storyline next year. Because what was one of the things that we talked about a lot with the Boston Red Sox before they won? You know, the curse of the Bambino. You know,
they were getting close every year. They get in the playoffs, but didn't get dominated.
Exactly.
Then they went down 3-0.
Happy losers.
To the Yankees. They went down 3-0.
Exactly. It was always the Yankees knocking them out. It was all, and then once they won, and then they won 2 more times after that, it was just like, okay, it's just the Red Sox. You know? And so let's not forget, too, like, with Chicago is 104 years. I think 58 years for the Cleveland Indians. Like,
so we talked before the show about this.
Right.
Because, as you said, the Cubs have become the darling because it's been so long since they won.
Right.
But before the show, I mentioned Cleveland, besides the Cavaliers just this past year, have been in a sports drought. All sports. Every single sport. They have not been good.
Right.
At all.
Right.
But Chicago, the Bears won in 85. They went back to the Super Bowl but lost.
Right.
The Bulls, we know what they did in the 90s.
Of course.
I mean, they had Michael Jordan. I mean, y'all are the mecca of basketball, basically.
Pretty much.
Michael Jordan.
Right.
Everybody has a Chicago Bulls jersey somewhere.
Exactly.
And they've been competing since.
I got a Michael Jordan. I got a throwback gold and white Team USA Michael Jordan jersey.
They ain't got a Chicago jersey. They have a Chicago shoe, that's for sure.
Most
Some
definitely.
black and red.
Most definitely.
Or white and red shoe with a Jumpman on it.
You also brought up the White Sox.
And, yes, my last point, the White Sox, who had won the World Series with Ozzie Guillen.
Right.
So let's not act like Chicago's just hurting for a championship like they haven't won anything. To me, Cleveland is more of a down sports city. I would like to see Cleveland go ahead and get another parade.
Right.
They've waited long enough.
And
they still have to deal with the Browns on 7.
And you know what? And that's exactly why I do agree with you on that one, because for me, it was like when the Mavericks won their first title back in 11. And then right when we had that parade, that was the same year the Rangers turned around and go to the World Series. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, yeah, here we go. We finna have 2 parades in 1 year, championship parades. And at that time, you know, once again, the Cowboys were still up and down a bit. But at the same time, I was like, yo, here we go. And I want to see that city get what I thought our city was finna get, which was an NBA championship parade and then a World Series parade.
So you have the Indians at 7. I got the Cubs in 6. Game 1, the Cubs have Lester on the mound. Cleveland has Kluber. I like Cleveland in Game 1. I'll give Cleveland Game 1.
Most definitely. I think they're going to come out. Once again, I think this team has a chip on their shoulder. And let's be for real, man. There's one player that I hate that the Rangers let go. And no matter where he goes, he seems to have a big impact on every team. And that's Mike Napoli.
Mike Napoli, yeah. I thought the same exact thing. Everywhere he go, they make the playoffs. He does something in the playoffs.
And exactly. And he won the World Series with them, with Boston a couple of years back. Everywhere he goes, he seems to have an impact on the team, whether it's catching, whether it's first base. They've even threw him out there in the outfield just so they can make sure they have his bat in the lineup.
There's a lot of people that know me know I'm not a huge baseball guy. I don't know a lot of baseball stats and stuff like that. I like watching, but I'm not just big. I want to know because I've heard his name so much. He's been on so many teams. Coco Crisp.
Right.
Has he won a World Series? Because he's played on a couple World Series winning teams. He's played for San Francisco before. He's also played with Boston. But was he on those teams when they
was
won?
winning? I think that's a good question.
I don't know.
We will find out.
I need to find out. Because I was like,
out.
if he hasn't won before,
and
it's almost a miracle.
That's the thing I like about this Indians team. Like I said, everyone's talked about the Cubs so much to the point to where the Indians have become like an afterthought. It's like, oh yeah, that's right. Y'all haven't won much in a while, but you guys have LeBron and company.
Y'all don't have a goat hanging over you.
Right. You know, y'all have just had a parade. Let us have a parade. And it's like, no, like
I'm just waiting for one Indian fan to bring a goat to a game. Just one. That's all I want. I just want one. That's it.
What you think about one thing I want to get in touch with you with real quick? Because like I said, you're not a big baseball guy, but you've been down with Clayton Kershaw.
Yeah. I think it's
what do you think about his postseason woes?
To me, I think it's mostly a figment of people's imagination. Because think about when he beat the Cubs earlier in the series. He went 7 scoreless innings.
Right.
Think about the time when he closed out the series and he came in and
handled up. Right.
Last few outs. It's not Clayton Kershaw to me. It's more about the whole Dodgers as an organization, as a team. When's the last time the Dodgers have played well in the playoffs?
Right.
They're kind of like the Nationals. The only reason I think they advance is because the Nationals, they're never good in the playoffs.
Right.
Maybe if they
look good in the regular season, then get to the postseason.
They should thank everybody that they didn't have to play San Francisco, because if Dodgers had to play San Francisco, I would have picked San Francisco.
Yeah.
Then if San Francisco got some momentum going against Chicago, that would have been even better.
Right. Hey, I have no... But once again, even with San Francisco, though, let's be for real. They'll go a year, they don't do nothing. They'll go a year, don't do nothing. Then all of a sudden, 2 postseasons. Then all of a sudden, World Series, then another World Series. Like, that's been their trend right now. We won't go this year, but hey, next year, you better watch your back.
They better not say that. We're not going to go this year. Moving on from baseball. Sports Machine still mixing it up. Basketball debuting. We got to get some predictions in. Maybe even pick a game or two that's coming on tonight.
Most definitely.
Coming into this basketball season, biggest story, Warriors. They get Kevin Durant.
Right.
Is Kevin Durant. Let's pick a nice word. I can't think of a nice word.
Is he a traitor?
We'll say traitor.
Like
even OKC. Just real quick to touch the topic. Do you think I think it's weak.
And
it's
see,
weak.
And that's my deal.
Even if you win, I'm not gonna look at you as you're better.
Because I felt like they had the better team. They just didn't close out when they needed to against the Golden State Warriors.
Had he left and went to another, a different team that had, let's say he had went to San Antonio, at least it's not the team you lost to.
Exactly. It's the actual team that you beat.
Yes. You're trying to get better. Had you gone to the Clippers.
Right.
And, it's still a super team. You still got the stars.
Right.
But it's not the team that beats you. It's not the team that looks like they're a dynasty in the making.
And in his case, had he went to San Antonio, his only excuse was, hey, I want to go with the Hall of Fame coach that's won before, with a young, 4 or 5 and a young 3 that we could become not only one of the best defensive teams in the NBA, but one of the more clutch teams.
So now that we moved on from that, get off the Kevin Durant business, because I know Draymond Green gonna try to yell at somebody again.
Yeah,
talking about something.
You better watch out. Did you see the flailing kick again?
He gonna kick somebody
in the chin. Like the way he flails and kicks so high. Like I almost wonder, was he like a stepper or something like in school? Like, because he kicks so high, it's like I'm waiting on somebody to get kicked in the chin or kicked in the face. Because I'm more than certain it's going down. If I get kicked in the face, it's.
I'm waiting for at least one of these players that play street ball
Yeah.
I'm glad he don't play on the streets, so you may never see Draymond Green again.
Yeah.
Kick like that. Kick like that again, Draymond. All right, so how many wins do you think the Warriors get this season? I'm seeing a lot of people are aiming for that 70. They're aiming for them to break their old record. You think the Warriors gonna break their record? I don't think so.
No.
I see them getting 67 wins, 66 wins.
I'm actually going to say they'll probably get about 60, anywhere. They're getting under 65 wins.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is because you got to remember, Kevin Durant's coming into a team that really didn't need Kevin, in my opinion. They really didn't need Kevin Durant because they've already gotten to the finals twice with the team that they already had. They just wanted, having another clutch guy meant that now you really have to pick your poison with any of them. You have to pick your poison. Who's going to beat you tonight? Is it going to be this, the original Splash Brothers, or is it going to be the newer Splash Brother? If they choose to call themselves that, I just wonder how this team is going to do in the playoffs due to the fact that they've lost a lot of depth. They lost a lot of team chemistry with the guys.
And I wonder how Draymond Green's going to feel about the fact that he might not get to shoot the ball at all.
Exactly.
I mean, you got 3 of the best 3-point shooters in the league on the same
team.
And then Draymond Green also thinks he's one of the best 3-point shooters.
Right.
And he feels like he needs shots too, even though he's really known for his defense.
Right.
So it's very questionable. Cleveland, the other big talk. You got LeBron James, the player.
Right.
LeBron James, the GM, who got J.R. Smith signed.
Right.
Let's be honest.
They pretty much brought just about everybody back.
Yes. They trying to repeat. I can see why. I mean, everybody brings up back when, Dallas Mavericks won.
Right.
And they didn't bring everybody back. They were going after big free agents. We don't know how it would have worked out if they did.
Right.
But the way you look at it, were the Cleveland Cavaliers the best team last year?
Were they the best team? No, I still think. Let's see. In the regular season, they were third in my opinion. They were third in my opinion behind Oklahoma City and Golden State. To me, that's where they were. They were the third best team in my opinion last year. I still feel like Oklahoma City was the better team at that time when they played Golden State, but they couldn't close it out. So therefore, it.
I think it would have been way more interesting to watch too. People can bring up LeBron James for Stephen Curry. That's not really versus. They don't even see each other on the court, really.
Right.
I think it would have been more interesting Russell Westbrook versus Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant versus LeBron James. That would have been a little bit more interesting to me.
Exactly. And the way I see it.
Is anyone going to compete with Cleveland this year in the East? I mean,
Chicago stand a chance.
I don't trust Dwayne Wade to stay healthy long enough, but I guess I can see it. I like Boston as well, but not
right. With them grabbing Al Horford, I think that helps them out
Boston.
a whole lot.
I like Boston. I think Boston will probably be the 2nd or 3rd seed. I have the Knicks making the playoffs.
I can see the Knicks being there, but once again, it all depends on, to me, what happens with Rose.
I'm not even counting on Rose. Brandon Jennings. Go ahead and shimmy in the preseason. Get people's faces in the preseason. He's just trying to get the Knicks hyped up. They haven't been hyped up in a while.
He just sent them just holler at you. Just holler at you, D Rose. You won't even make it to the playoffs.
I'm just not counting on Rose because you can't.
I understand. Unfortunately, he's one of those guys who.
It's not his fault.
Right. Body just can't sustain.
I mean, I remember Brandon Roy.
Yeah.
He was one of my favorite players in the league. He was a top 5 shooting guard when he went down.
Could easily put up 20 points in one quarter.
Especially against the Mavericks.
Yeah.
Just remember that.
Yeah.
I'm going to the West. I want to talk about Oklahoma City because we dove into the Warriors.
Right.
Is Oklahoma City still a top 5 Western Conference team? I think so.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah, so I was about to say yes and no, depending. Because let's be for real. Every team
about to go off. He's about to be my favorite player. Between him and Kawhi Leonard, they about to be my favorite players.
Right. Because actually,
You have no leash, no handcuffs. Just
Right.
go ahead, get your triple doubles every game.
Right.
People forget that when Kevin
Right.
Durant went out, he was getting triple doubles every game.
Right.
So I do see Oklahoma City as being a top 5 in the conference, if not number 2 or 3.
No. I think he needs more than what he have. Like, he needs more. Like, he's actually somebody who could benefit from having slashers on the team.
Yes.
Like, that's the type of player he is, because he can slash. But most people would say when he slash, he should just drive and kick. But I say if he's slashing and he pulls one of those Chris Paul type of deals where he just drives, but when he drives, he's not necessarily looking to score, but actually to dish off to somebody diving in. That's a high percentage shot. You get what I'm saying?
Oh,
high percentage shot, which could lead to a three the easy way, the 3-point play the easy way.
Say their depth chart doesn't even look close to the same as it did last year. It's going to be a struggle, especially in the beginning.
Right.
But I think maybe come playoff time, they might be able to put something together. And
Do you think they traded Ibaka if they knew Kevin Durant was going to leave, opt out and leave?
I think they traded Ibaka hoping Kevin Durant wasn't going to leave.
Right. Because from my understanding, there was some friction, something going
Yes.
on between.
I think that was to try to help.
Right.
But they if they had Ibaka, I would for sure think they still close to being a good team.
Right.
I want you to notice that at being a Spurs fan, I try not to mention them at all.
Yeah.
Let's just go ahead and keep them low key, act like they don't exist anymore.
Right on.
Because people just think the Warriors are gonna run away with it in the West, like the Spurs don't put up almost 60-something wins a year as well.
Exactly. And it would have been a much closer contest had it actually been the Spurs playing the Warriors.
I do have them being the number 2 team coming out the West, but I think they might beat them in the playoffs.
Who, the Spurs?
Yes,
Yeah.
because Kawhi Leonard can hold down Kevin Durant.
I don't see any reason why anyone would not pick them to be the number 2 team.
I don't see anybody else.
Right.
Maybe the Clippers.
Not even the Clippers.
And don't trust anybody from Houston.
Nope.
It's time.
Yep. It's been a while, but somebody's going to get it.
Kind of up for it.
Yes.
Things in sports that make you say, really though? Who we want to go first?
I'll make this real quick because I actually just kind of made mine up on the fly. And it was courtesy of, the nice Samsung TV we got off in the studio now, right here in the Soulside studio, right here in uptown, downtown Dallas. And they showed the play again where Atlanta's head coach decides to go. That's why I stayed quiet on it.
I tried not to put too much out there because I knew it was a possibility.
Here comes Santa Claus.
But he had to get it.
Yes, of course. Of course he has to get it. Dude, okay, you talk about somebody, this is about as bad as Donovan McNabb not understanding overtime rules. But in his case, he understand it.
Hey, Donovan McNabb, do not hate on Donovan McNabb.
Oh,
I didn't know there was ties then either because it's been so long. Now there's a tie every other year.
No. This guy, he had to know. I don't care how much confidence you have in your team. You do not go for it on the 40-yard line of your own side. Especially knowing that all it takes now is a field goal to beat your team, which that's what y'all lost by. A field goal. Oh, he understood. He clearly states that he understood. That's the crazy thing about it is I had much more confidence in my team that I didn't think it was a possibility that we wasn't going to get it.
Say it again. Say something else. Oh, say something else.
Yes, sir.
Say something else.
Really though. This guy.
That's all you can say.
This guy.
Really though.
Why?
My really though is not near as interesting. It's really not because it dates back a little bit because it's been a while. You remember probably last week a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
The Warriors played very well against the Lakers in the preseason.
Right.
Really? People, this is what the Warriors are gonna be like all season.
It's like,
What? First of all, let's NBA preseason. Nobody watches. Nobody
Right.
watches NBA preseason. I'm an NBA guy and I don't even watch it preseason.
Right.
Preseason is boring. It's like watching pickup basketball.
Yep.
And then they're gonna point out this they scored 8 points in 13 seconds. I don't know. It was really fast. They scored 8 points really fast.
Say why you cheating?
Then it's on the Lakers.
Right. Lakers ain't been good for quite some time.
They don't have Kobe anymore.
That's what's gonna be interesting. See what the Lake Show looks like minus Kobe. No more Kobe.
They'll probably get more
Bryant.
wins this year, but that's because they have a young talent. I believe they're taking a step in the right direction because they have a lot of young talent. I like the team they're building. I'm not a huge fan of D'Angelo Russell, especially after he snitched. That's not good for team chemistry anywhere.
Nope.
I mean, I couldn't trust you no more.
No one likes a snitch, D'Angelo.
He's not coming to the team dinners. Very Houston's like.
By the way, if you pick the Clippers in NBA 2K, you a cheater.
Oh, the Warriors.
Yeah, if you pick the Warriors, my bad, I said the Clippers. If you pick the Warriors in NBA 2K, you cheating.
I'm turning off the game.
Instant cheat, yep.
We go to the online.
Do you accept a friendly quit?
I see you pick the Warriors. I'm quickly saying nope.
Nope.
I will disrupt my little completion status.
Exactly.
And, I'd probably still play just trying to dominate. I might pick the worst team in the league, still try to win.
Nah, especially nowadays they got cheat codes, so this makes it even more difficult.
It's been a great day.
Easy 3-point shots.
Great day to come back.
Why do you need easy 3-point shots with these guys? It's like you try to put up 200. Yeah, don't make me come find you, bruh.
Sports Machine is back. Full action later on in the week. Most definitely gonna have to get into our picks.
Most definitely.
And also what the college football playoff is gonna look like. Louisville, do they still have a shot? Do you believe in Washington? Michigan, Alabama, Clemson, and maybe West Virginia. All that and more right here on the Sports Machine.
Peace out.